Like, yo, Mike low key is petty. Like,
He is petty. He
he's
was
low
on his
key petty.
he was on his pettiness. Either can we normalize bad trailers and great movies, or
Yeah.
can we have trailers that have scenes that are not included like in the movie? Hey everybody, this is Cody Banks with the Antisocial Horror Club on the Silverside Network. And we're joined by Mr. RJ, the Fire Lord, for a very special show today. Today we'll be talking about Halloween Kills, which takes place 40 years after the original events in 1978 on that Halloween night where Michael Myers comes back home and wreaks havoc. We have some really great stuff that we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the overall plot of the movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, feel free to come back to this video after you watched it. So spoiler alert. And like always, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Definitely share your thoughts on what you thought about the movie, some of the things you like. If you agree with us or disagree, we'd love to see it. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm ready. I can't wait to jump into this one. We were waiting a minute for this movie, and I got some thoughts. So yeah.
Yeah, it's something I've been looking forward to. And I'm sure just as you, after the first Halloween movie, the remake that came out in 2018, it was really good, had me wanting more. And when we did know that this was going to be a trilogy, a 3-part series, Halloween Kills was pushed back, of course, because of the pandemic. And then they also wanted a theater release for this movie. So we had to wait a little bit longer. So I'm definitely interested to hear your thoughts if it was worth the wait. And then we can talk about kind of what we like about it. But let's get into it and where it starts off at. At the very beginning, we see the intro where it begins at Haddonfield in the Michael Myers house on that October 31st night in 1978. And it takes place with 2 deputies in the house where Frank Hawkins accidentally shoots and kills his partner while trying to pursue Michael Myers. During all of this, Michael Myers does end up just walking down the stairs, going in the front yard. And this is one of the things that we will talk about. He's confronted by Sam Loomis and a number of other officers.
Yeah.
After these events play out, we then go 40 years later to where it left off in the original Halloween movies. With this movie, we have a lot of action. I mean, from start to the finish of it. I mean, it's like a highlight reel for Michael Myers. So it was really interesting. So let's get into like the real beginning of your thoughts with the Sam Loomis confrontation. Especially, we got that cameo that I think a lot of people wanted. And Sam Loomis was originally played by Donald Pleasant, which is somebody that we know is an icon with this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I don't know how they pulled it off at first because I didn't know if it was like a hologram, but I know I didn't see those scenes before, and I was curious about how they did it. But what was your overall thoughts with the police trying to pursue Michael and what we seen in the house?
That first scene, well, first I want to say I was really confused when I saw him because, like you said, the scenes looked like they were high definition. It wasn't like they took a clip from the old movie and inserted it in. So for me, I felt like your eyes aren't believing what you're seeing. I think my brain like took a screenshot and glitched because I didn't know what was going on for the longest until like we had talked about it and you told me that it was a whole different person. But I liked that whole scene with the cops pursuing him in the house. I liked the first kill. I don't know. It just the whole it to me it would have just screamed as classic Halloween. Michael Myers is not like Ghostface. He's not, a human killer where, for me, I feel like this scene was one of those things where it kind of just set the tone for the rest of the movie where it's like, yeah, it's going to take a lot to keep this guy, or I don't want to say guy because we don't even know if he's, because he teeters between both supernatural and natural. But for me, what it is kind of just set the scene for what we're about to see in this movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if you were like me or RJ, with the Sam Loomis reappearance or cameo, however you would like to put it, this is actually played by Tom Jones Jr., which is somebody that looks exactly like him. which is just blew my mind. And
Yeah.
if you never knew this actor, don't beat yourself up, because this is actually his first role ever.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of like puzzled a little bit of, you know, how they found the guy that looked just like him.
Could you
Um,
imagine the luck of being like casted? Like, hey, you look just like. It's
right.
like what?
Imagine going your like through your whole life and people stopping you. It was like, aren't you that guy who played the
Yeah.
doctor in the Halloween
Yeah.
franchise? Like that, you know, to me that was just like brilliant. You know, I'm a little well, you know, because this is his first acting role. I don't know like the extent of what his acting abilities are, or if this is kind of like a one, you know, time thing for him.
Yeah.
But if, you know, indeed he is like a really good actor, this is something he's trying to pursue, I would have loved to have seen, you know, some more of it, because like I
Yeah.
said, I mean, when we see sequels like back in the day,
Yeah.
and there's like a reoccurring character or anything like that, and they do get casted by like a different actor, and in
Yeah.
this case, you know, Donald Pleasant,
Yeah.
you know, is no longer here, but you know, we typically see like really bad like
Terrible.
lookalikes, or yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see it and you're just like, I can't watch this movie because this looks nothing like this person, and it's just taking me out.
Yeah.
But with this, I mean, it was just like literally like a twin,
Yeah.
you
They
know.
did a good job. It's one of those
Yeah,
things where you have to really search for somebody like that. And I feel like when the casting call went out for, look, could you imagine like there were probably like 20 lookalikes that lined up to get this role. And it's just crazy how they made sure they cast somebody who looked exactly like him. Because like I said, my brain glitched for a minute because I was like, I I thought he wasn't here anymore, and it kind of like made my brain like really confused. So I definitely appreciated the fact that they went and cast somebody who resembled him almost exactly.
yeah, and like I said, it was definitely like a treat for, you know, us original Halloween fans,
Yeah.
to be able to see that, and also just because we don't really get to see that like in the first movie. So,
Mhm.
you know, it definitely starts off like kind of kicking us like in the nostalgia, you know,
Yeah.
parts of our brain, which was really good. So I also thought about when Hawkins accidentally shot his partner in the neck. You know, this is going to be a running
That
joke
made me
here, y'all.
mad.
Yeah, it made me mad too. And this is going to be our running joke. But I always think about when situations like this happen. I'm like, what happened if this was really the first guy, or the first day on the job of the guy, and he's like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I didn't know what's going on. And the first time you have to confront, like, you know, a criminal, an armed criminal, you know,
Yeah.
maybe in this case, you're already at gunpoint and, you know, your partner's there. And, you know, I also felt a little type of way when, you know, his partner is bleeding out and he's like, did we get him? Tell me we got him. And he's
Yeah.
like,
He
yeah,
was
we
like,
got
"Yeah,
him.
we got him."
Like, I mean, I get it, and I'm happy. Like, you know, I feel like the cop, his partner who had passed away, you know, in that scene, was like, "Oh yeah,
Like,
like we
okay, I
did,
can die peacefully now. Yeah.
yeah." But I was like, "Yeah, come on, man." I was like,
That's
"Now you
funny
have to
though.
get
I
him."
thought it was really funny though, like that he like lied
Yeah,
to his face on his deathbed, like, yeah, we got him.
sure,
Yeah, whatever you say.
something like
What made
that.
me so mad about one thing I didn't like about this movie, I felt like everyone was a terrible shot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hold on. Let's rewind a little bit. Remember when they were in the alleyway when Michael, or before Michael went in the house, and that one, and I think it was actually Hawkins that fired the shot from like 40
Mhm.
yards away
Yeah,
and caught him. I was like,
yeah. I
all
was like,
right.
oh,
I was like,
okay, okay. One.
what in the Call of Duty? Yeah, it really, really the only shot
Yeah, the only
that,
good shot.
yeah, the really, yeah. And also, I don't know why nobody really aimed for the head, you know, when it comes to this
Yeah,
movie, but we'll get into that.
yeah,
Um, you know, so that was pretty much the intro, which is a great intro. It's definitely going to, you know, make you feel good seeing the Sam Loomis cameo. Fast forward to 40 years later, where we see a man on stage talking about his story and his interaction with Michael Myers, and
this
he,
asshole.
right, and he goes into, you know, some of the people in the audience, which also had some type of confrontation with Michael Myers at some
Yeah,
point in their past. We learned that the person who's speaking is Tommy Doyle, which is somebody from the previous
yeah, it
installments.
was.
And he talks, well, it's kind of clear to see that he has PTSD. What with his interaction with Michael Myers. So he's pretty much like reminiscent about the whole interaction, and we kind of see what he did experience that night.
Mhm.
So it was really good to see some of the callbacks from the previous installments. Um, but as
Mhm.
we'll see, I don't, know about everybody else out there. I didn't like the way Tommy Doyle was portrayed in this film,
Yeah.
just because. Let's be honest, the whole "Evil Dies at Night" is a little cringy.
It
It
was
was
really
just so
corny. It
much,
was really
yeah,
corny. His whole characterization to me was really corny. It was very, yeah, we gotta go, round them up, bang bang, shoot them up, wild wild west. It was really giving, just like, I don't know. It was just it reminded me of like the insurrection, the way he was acting. I found it to be really really cringy. I found it to be one of those things where I would really wish he would have toned it down a little bit. It just seemed a little bit extra, but to me, I feel like he was the villain in this movie. I don't care what anyone says, like he was the villain.
yeah. And the thing with Tommy Doyle, like, dude, I always felt like he was trying to have a catchphrase, like in a lot of his things. He's like, "Evil dies tonight," and I'm just like, and it's like a zoom
Yeah,
in of like
the
his face and stuff,
pan over to him, yeah. I
and
felt like that too. I felt like everybody was trying to be like catchphrasy. I felt like everybody was trying to have like a
yeah,
dramatic moment. It just seemed a little over the top. And to comment on what you said earlier with the callbacks and things like that, I felt like this movie was one big callback. One
yeah.
big like, I feel like this movie wasn't made to kind of push anything forward. I feel like more so it was done as fan service. We got to see characters that we know and love, and we got to see kills. And I feel like that's kind of what this movie was. So if you went into this movie looking for a movie, you didn't really get it. You just got a series of events that occurred. You didn't really get a movie.
Yeah, and going right back on the callback theme, and I, it should seem more obvious than what it is, but I know for myself, like I didn't catch it. Halloween 2, the one that it came out, back in the 80s,
Yeah,
it takes place of Lori in the hospital the whole entire time.
yeah,
And that was one of the biggest things that I believe Halloween fans they didn't like about that film. They wanted to see
mhm,
more of Laurie. They didn't want to see it all take place in the hospital. And Halloween 2 is an awesome film. I love
yeah,
it. But when we look at this movie, Laurie once again spends the whole movie, Halloween 2, in the hospital. We don't
yeah,
really see a lot of her. And that was one of the things that I necessarily did not like about the movie, because we all love Laurie,
yeah.
Strode, and we want to see more of her.
The
And I
iconic
know,
character.
yeah, and I know in the third one we will more than
Yeah.
likely see like a lot more of her. But you can never have too much Laurie Strode.
Yeah, and I as I say with you to piggyback over what you said or add to it, I feel like when you have an iconic character like her, she literally is the final girl. And I feel
Yes.
like when you take your final girl and just, confine her to a hospital bed for an entire film, I feel like it kind of does the fans an injustice because she was really just narrate she was really there to just narrate,
Yeah.
what happened in the past. And I feel like that was such a disservice to the fans. Now, what's more believable is if she would have even, I mean, because it's a movie, so dramatization does happen. I would have preferred it if she would have gotten out the hospital bed, given herself a shot of adrenaline, and gotten a pipe and walked down, walk the street trying to look for him. I don't know, that to me would have been a little bit better. I didn't really care for the whole hospital bed, thing, but I get it.
Yeah.
She got stabbed, and I don't know if that was something Jamie Lee Curtis just didn't want to do anything physical this time around. I don't know. But I love Laurie, and I just wish that she would have done a little bit more in this movie besides being in a hospital bed. Even and all the characters really that were in the last movie.
You brought up something I want to touch on. So you remember when Laurie Strode had the syringe, right? And she like,
Yeah,
okay, why did she do it in the stomach? Because she not did it like a normal person
in the
and just
side.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah. Let me stab myself in the stomach where I just
yeah,
got stabbed earlier and had surgery. It was weird.
yeah. So I was like, okay, we get it. You're hard. I got it. Like, but hey, so that was
Yeah.
something I was questioning. This is something I just want to hear your opinion about.
Yeah.
So we move on to the next scene after we see Tommy Doyle kind of recapping his experience and some of the other victims and stuff.
Yeah.
The fire department comes out to where Laurie Strode was staying. First of all, Laurie Strode spent probably so much money on that house, booby trapping it for Michael Myers. And at the end of Halloween, she had that gas trap where the house was going to
Yeah.
explode and it was going to catch in flames. First of all, the fire department, and I'm not putting blame on them, but they pretty much just ruined like that whole trap that she put all
They
that money
really
in
did. They
and
really,
stuff.
they
It was
really
like,
messed it up. They
yeah,
really
let's just
messed
go
it
ahead
up.
and put it out,
Yeah.
right? And so the trap really didn't come to its like full circle because it was getting put out. But we get a glimpse of how brutal Michael is in this film, and we see it in the trailer where he has the interaction with the firefighters. And it's really, really brutal. But this is the one that I really want to know your opinion on. The firefighter who took the hose and started spraying Michael back, or trying to. First of all, that hose sucks.
It really
Um,
does.
I always knew, like growing up, like in school and stuff, where like people used to talk about like the pressure of a water hose
Yeah.
could like really like hurt you. And I'm not saying Michael has not been through worse things, because he
Yeah.
has. But when I tell you like that, like the power of that hose, is like
Yeah.
a pocket hose,
Yeah. It
or
was
anything
literally
like
like
that.
there's no water pressure. It just
Yeah,
it
if
irritated me. And
if
then my whole thing is like, this is Michael Myers. Like this is like when he came out, they was like, oh, let's get ready. They started getting axes and stuff. Why would you stand? What was the hose gonna do? And I think
yes,
that's what bothered me the most about that scene is like I completely understand if you had like one of those hoses that could cut things, but you just had literally a regular fire hose. What did you think was gonna happen? And then once you're spraying it and he's walking through it, grab an axe. I didn't understand that scene at all. I didn't get it.
yeah, and by this point, Michael had already ran through like 4 firefighters, and so
Yeah,
you already kind of know what you're up against. But the other thing about it, and this is something that we see throughout the whole movie, and this is one of my pain points as well. It was kind of the editing and some of the camera angles as we've seen it,
yeah,
and in that specific scene, it was almost kind of like those old kung fu movies or any type of action movie where you're like fighting somebody, and everybody else is kind of standing around.
yeah,
And it was kind
yeah,
of like a lot of the firefighters were kind of like watching as Michael was like picking, people up and lifting them and
yeah.
throwing them and stuff. And, that was something that like this kind of didn't make as much sense to me throughout the movie. But one thing I do want to get clear, this movie gets the kills right. Like this,
Yeah. That's the bright
so
spot of this movie. Is
yeah,
Charlie Kills, definitely bright spot.
practical effects on point. Kills look really good and creative. It really reminded me of films that do have these type of like effects and these kills. You typically don't really see them like in the
Yeah,
mainstream and
yeah.
in theaters and stuff like that. So I was super surprised just throughout like the movie.
I think that practical. I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. I think CGI is necessary sometimes, but I feel like practical effects for me, um, kind of add a sense of realism to a movie, and it makes it more brutal. Whereas CGI, you have more freedom and more creativity to make things that are more gruesome or gory. But I feel like the horror that I feel like the what makes horrors for me is the realism of it all. Granted, a supernatural man walking through, coming through and slaughtering town is not exactly realistic, but a psychopath with the strength to crush your face, and I can deal with that. I can deal with seeing what would happen if somebody crushed your head and seeing a realistic, kind of thing happen. So for me, I feel like that was definitely the bright spot of this movie, were the kills and the practical effects. This movie for me, overall, it did not do it for me. And I know people, really enjoyed this movie and thoroughly enjoyed this movie, but this is something for me where as a movie, it didn't work for me. But the kills, I think, if you just are a fan of Halloween, the franchise in general, you'll definitely enjoy the movie for that silver lining.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to see just Michael just go crazy insane with the kills, will be the movie for you. I
Yeah,
didn't think it added much to the story. I think one of the biggest issues with this movie is when we look at Halloween, I feel like it was really well paced out.
yeah,
With this film, it was like kill, 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 the end, and then
yeah,
just super crammed in and rushed, and that could be because of just the pandemic and the shooting film, and
Yeah.
that may have been stated, before.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like really rushed. And at times I would glance at my phone just because, like, at a certain point of the movie, I knew that it wasn't really a lot adding to the story, where it was just kind of like, we're here for the kills,
Yeah.
basically, which is a play off the title. So,
Yo, I didn't
there
think
we
about
go.
that. It's literally just Halloween
Yeah.
Kills.
It is Michael Myers is killing for real, for real.
Dang, you know what? Maybe that will, maybe if people looked at it that way, that will kind of change their perception. Because I know some people loved it. I know some people absolutely hated it. And for me, like, now that you say that, okay, Halloween Kills. It makes sense
Right.
now.
And we knew going into this movie, because they were talking about it, that this was going to be like the most brutal Michael that we have ever seen.
Yeah.
And one other thing that, like, I want to kind of touch on, just kind of moving on to the next scene, which I do think is kind of like important, is while Tommy Doyle and Eddard are in the bar, we're interrupted by a broadcast where they're talking about the bodies that were found. But we also see that another patient escaped from the hospital where I believe Michael was at. Anyways, this is, kind of leading Haddonfield and the people of Haddonfield to believe that this person could be Michael Myers. And in the same scene, we have a couple who is leaving the bar, and they're going to their car. And as the girlfriend, I believe, is going to the car, she runs back terrified. She goes to her boyfriend and says, "Hey, he's in the car," referring to Michael Myers. And, the boyfriend comes out, and, they kind of have like their little interaction. They don't really go to the car. They
Bro.
run back in and they're like, "Hey, he's out in the car. He's out in the car." We get a classic Tommy Doyle scene here where, to mention, hold up, jerk move, how you said he was a villain. The bartender told this story about his dad, I believe, and how that baseball bat, Huckleberry, had belonged or been in his family for so many years. Tommy Doyle just goes to the bag, grabs the baseball bat, and was like, "Yeah,
let
yeah,
me take
evil
your
ends in
family
Latin."
heirloom
Yeah,
to murder somebody.
we do get a classic line from the bartender who says, "Tommy Doyle is about to bleep bleep," which is very funny. So if you see it, I know
Yeah.
it stood out to you. So that was a little funny thing. But RJ, how did you feel about the way that the Haddonfield residents in the bar was approaching the situation?
First of all, this is a town full of idiots. That's just
Yes.
I want to lay that out. That this is a town full of morons. You guys live like, all right, let's take it back to Fear Street. The
Yep.
entire town knew the legend, right? The entire town. Mind you, this was dating back to centuries. This
Yeah.
town knew the legend, or they knew parts of the legend. This has only been a couple of decades since this happened. Has anyone ever told a story about Michael Myers carjacking someone? Like, he would have killed you guys. He wouldn't have driven away from you. He would have killed everybody there.
Right. And we see the car kind of pull off after Tommy Doyle confronts him, and car crashes. And as they're approaching the car, nobody's in it, but we get a scene where we
Michael
see
Myers
the
run
patient,
from everybody.
yeah, running
Like,
from everybody.
that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, he's not going to get in the car and escape away from. He's going to murder you.
Yeah.
Everybody's stupid.
And with that, like, I don't know. We'll get into the mental patient thing, because that really is the next scene that we'll talk about. But with this movie, it really just seems like the whole town didn't have like their act together as far as just having like a
All
plan. But
stupid. It's
you
like
know,
they're all bikini bottom. Like, they're all dumb.
what if we
Everybody sounds
take the
stupid.
town and move
Every
it
push
over
it
here?
somewhere.
How can we protect ourselves? We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else.
That was something that I was just like, hey, can breathe? Let's think about this for a second and what's really going on. But so the patient scene is something I definitely want to get into. So now there's a whole angry mob, after who they believe is Michael Myers, which is this patient that escaped, which is not clearly Michael
Yeah.
Myers, especially when you see the stature, the build, and we just know it's not him. But it's not even a close comparison. Um, So he's in the hospital, and we kind of get a very sad scene. We
Terrible.
see Lori's daughter, Karen, trying to help the patient. And she kind of escorts him to a hallway, locks the doors as an angry mob led by Tommy Doyle and others are approaching him. And as we're going through it, she's trying to tell everyone, like, hey, look, this is not the guy. Even Tommy Doyle's like, this is not the guy, whatever and
But
stuff.
after he got everybody hyped, though, after he started all of
Yeah.
the inch, and then he's like, oh, wait, no, I'm wrong.
Yeah, that was the part that really got me. Let's talk about the scene where, like I said, if you watch this movie already, you're going to feel for this patient and the way that he goes out. How did you feel like experiencing when he got onto the ledge? Which I don't know why there was a window in the mortuary. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But when you got to the edge and, he kind of jumped off, what were kind of your thoughts and your feelings after that scene? And when Tommy Doyle did say, like, oh, my bad, I made a mistake. After somebody done
dude,
died.
It bothered me because it reminded me of, like, Frankenstein, even though Frankenstein, actually just strangled a little girl. But for me, it just reminded me of, like, you're chasing someone who is a mental patient who clearly needs help. It bothered me that no one had the intelligence in that mob to say, wait a minute, isn't Michael Myers like super tall? Doesn't he wear a mask? Like, you mean to tell me, like, no one that I think this is what bothers me. And especially going back to him still in the car, I feel like none of y'all know what he looks like. Like,
Yeah.
it bothered me. Like, they mobbed that man to death. They chased him to the point where he had to jump out of a window in order to, I guess I don't know if he thought he was going to live. I don't know what he was thinking. Or he was like, well, I'd rather die this way than beating me to death. It just made me irritated. And it was a really sad death to me. For me, that was the saddest death in the thing because he, to me, was the most innocent that I know of or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he probably did some stuff too. But it was one of the things where I felt like, y'all ain't have to do my man like that. Like, he just wanted to come to the hospital. He literally said at the window, I need help. Can you help me? And then he was like, it's Michael Myers. It's Michael Myers. And it's like, come on, y'all. Like, what are y'all doing? And then she even shouted, she's like, that's not him. That's not him. And then they're just like, hype, bro. Like, the whole scene had me tight.
Yeah. And, just going into like another like sad like death within this film, I think we have to talk about it. It's probably my favorite sequence, and only because I was like, we're seeing what we're dealing with here. It's the couple, the elderly couple, where Michael ended up, let me get this kind of narrow this one down because he killed so many people in this movie. But, it's the older man who gets stabbed in the back multiple times by multiple kitchen knives. And what was so cold-blooded about this sequence is that, his significant other had to watch it while she herself was in great pain from being impelled by a broken light.
She had a nasty death too.
Yeah.
Because those things break into like powder and stuff like that. So like, oh, that's the glass of powders on her neck. Like, she had a terrible death. I think that'd be the worst death for me.
Yeah, and I'd say worse, not only painful, but just having to watch it, having to realize what's going on. Another thing, just about like that sequence when we see Michael taking like all these knives and just going and going and going, like we get that kind of sense of doom, like, oh yeah, like this can only go like downhill. And kind of going towards like the end, which we'll get into here in a moment. Laurie makes a statement: the more he kills, the more he transcends, the stronger he gets. And it does kind of pace out like that. Going to, let's see where we were at as far as after that scene, we see where the granddaughter of Laurie Strode, her dad died that same night, which was the same thing, and she ends up losing her mom towards the end of the film as well. So that is somebody else that I want to see a little bit more, and I can't wait to see, because imagine losing both of your parents in the same night. And I do get it. She made some bad decisions trying to go after Michael, and she definitely was not prepared when she did have that meeting with him. but trying to avenge her dad, but she ends up losing her mom in the process, which I know just in the next one that has to be taxing on her. It's going to have to be taxing on Laurie Strode losing her daughter when she finds out.
Yeah,
And I'm expecting a full-pledged meltdown for Laurie Strode, where she's
yeah,
just going to go berserk, and we're going to see her at her peak, Michael
yeah.
hunting, pretty much self. So, what did you think about? Well, actually, we cannot not include Big John and Little John. I'm gonna let you explain
Yeah,
Big John and Little
yeah.
John.
Big John, Little John, man. I felt for them initially because they got pranked hella
Yeah,
hard in the beginning, which was a good prank. 'Cause I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like, oh shoot, did she really throw up a razor blade? And then they stole
yeah,
the candy, and but going back to their murder, um, Mike is really smart, and I think people don't give him credit for being a smart killer. I feel like he knew how to get into that house, and he knew what he wanted to do. And for me, I feel like the worst part about that kill is that he positioned them in the same way that they were laying in the photo, and played the little record like, yo, Mike low key is petty. Like
he is petty. He
he's
was on
low
his
key petty.
he was on his pettiness there, and
Yeah.
a couple other things that I liked about it. Little John was really tall John.
Yeah.
Big John was got a Little John, and what about when they got the knives? And Little John had the big knife, and Big John had the
Yeah.
small knife.
I got this knife.
I got this knife. So
They were corny. The whole
they,
movie was corny, but some parts
yeah,
worked. Yeah.
yeah, and how much do you think they bought that house for?
That joint was probably dirt cheap. They probably paid for the house in Dunkaroos.
They probably did, yeah.
Like,
You know, and they knew going into it, so like just imagine, like they probably got a great deal on the house, so
ain't no
I don't
way,
blame
man. You
them.
couldn't. You couldn't. I don't care if you gave me 0.3 interest rate. You
You're
can't.
not
You
doing
can't
it.
pay me. I'm not doing it. I'm not
I
doing
don't know. I don't know.
it.
What's crazy, and I'm sure like a lot of the Halloween fans know out there in North Carolina.
Yeah.
There's a guy that pretty much rebuilt like the Halloween or the Strode house. He lives in it. You at some points can tour in it. Sometimes he shows the Halloween movies. Has a crazy horror collection. But
Hard
yeah,
pass.
he lives in a replica Laurie Strode house.
Hard pass. I'm not doing
So
that.
no.
No.
All
I don't want
right.
to talk to you. Listen, black people don't play that. I don't want no parts of that. I don't want no parts of that. I'll leave that
Hey,
to y'all. We don't do that.
look. If the house is at a good price, I mean, in this market, and I don't know.
It's
So
like
I'm
that
not saying
meme where
I'm.
it was like this house, like 90 people have died in this house, and there's like the white people moving in. Oh, this is great.
Oh yeah, we'll put our stuff right here. Like, don't even worry about it.
Nah, man. I mean, I'll hard pass, but I'm not gonna lie. They had the house looking nice. They had it looking right. They had the green and the hardwood
Yeah,
floors. Like they
feng
did it
shui.
up now. They feng shuied the hell out of it. But
Hey,
yeah, they're not
yo,
gonna get to enjoy that though.
what about so unfortunately we see Little John and Big John's demise. I wouldn't mind getting a prequel. If y'all do a
Yeah.
prequel, hey, look, I just want to see him move in. But anyways, talk us a little through the ending.
Okay, so the ending probably had to be my favorite part of the movie. It's when I feel like the townspeople acted the most normal that they should have throughout this whole film. Because y'all know, as I said earlier, they were really irritating me the entire film, just being stupid and extra, splitting up when you don't need to split up. And I get horror tropes have to happen, but I feel like they were doing things just to do things for the sake of the plot. And I feel like at a certain point, as writers, I feel like we need to start writing things where people act as normal people would act. And I feel like, to me, this was the most authentic part of the movie, when the townspeople got together and decided to, nuck if you buck on Mike Myers. And they pulled up. Well, she got the mask, and let's rewind a little
Yeah,
bit. So, leading up to the finish, we have the granddaughter, right? Laura's granddaughter.
granddaughter and daughter are kind of like
Yeah,
in that final sequence.
yeah, in that final stage, and then you have what's the guy's name? Not Trevor. I want to call him Trevor.
I believe it was it the the granddaughter is the
The
boyfriend
sheriff,
or
yeah, the sheriff's
ex-boyfriend
son
or
or
something.
something like that.
Yeah,
Whatever his name was, him. They go,
Cameron.
they run up on Mike Myers, and of course that does not turn out well. We see the boy get brutally murdered after Big John, Little John got killed, and the granddaughter and Mike are fighting, and she gets shoved down the stairs, and Mike being petty Mike, Mike is petty.
Patty Mike.
He takes the man's head and rams it through the railing again, and murders him and snaps his neck, and that's that. And just when Mike is about to kill his granddaughter, the mother was a Karen.
Caitlin. Not Caitlin,
Caitlin.
my bad. Karen. It's
Karen.
Karen. How can we forget
shows up.
Karen, B?
Yeah, Karen. Karen shows up, and she gets into a mic, and she ends up getting his mask off, and she lures him to the middle of the street. This how this town is on some G-ish. Like, they lured him in, like they was about to, they lured this man in to the middle of the street and jumped this man. They said,
Yo,
"Come
what?
outside, Mike. We not gonna jump you."
Yo,
And they
I
jumped
just
this
about
man.
to say that.
Hey, come outside, Mike. We're not going to jump you. And for me, I love the scene because it was the most realistic part of the movie. I felt, they got their weapons out. They look like the episode of SpongeBob with Bubble Buddy.
I see! We tipped something over! Now what? Get the lifeguard!
Wait! Don't waste this senseless violence on him!
He burned our crops, poisoned our water supply, and delivered a plague unto us all. And he had the pitchforks and all of that.
Yep.
They showed up ready to fight Mike, and they did their thing. Now, one thing I will say, Mike, I don't know where he been at, but he got some moves now. He's bobbing and weaving everything. McGregor in that man,
Sign him, UFC. Sign this man.
Sign him.
Another SpongeBob reference. I promise you, every scene, like, first of all, Haddonfield may be not the smartest community ever that we kind of see like in a horror film, but they're going to roll deep. Like, they was always squad up, like the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
Now, with them coming out there and Michael pretty much just Bruce Lee-ing them, the freak out,
Got a Sonya.
Yeah, oh my God. Yo, Michael was in the Matrix in that final scene.
I'm telling you.
And SpongeBob reference, I felt like every time I see him, like, how many times we got to teach you this lesson, old man?
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Only to get taught the lesson themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it was because, at this point in the movie, we love our callback characters.
Yeah.
But, they got an innocent, I'm not going to say innocent, but the patient killed who they thought was Michael Myers. They all made some questionable decisions. And so I'm not trying to victim blame or anything, but, at this point, after Michael pretty much rips through the entire community, Tommy Doyle, who he saves for last. And Tommy Doyle, this whole movie, you're going to see Tommy Doyle and Huckleberry. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go out swinging, and all this good stuff, like Sandlot style. Just for Michael. Like, I don't know if you knew or noticed, but I felt like when Michael grabbed the bat and they kind of like, it's kind of like a slow motion thing. And I just want to say, I felt like a grin on Michael's face.
You felt it, right? You felt it.
Like,
I did too. I felt it through the screen. Like, he was like, you talking all that shit, huh? Like, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, he was like, pull up. You think I'm,
Mike said, what's good?
Hey, come out. So he goes Barry Bonds on Tommy Doyle in an off-screen, death, but we can see the.
Yeah, I wish we would have got an on-screen death.
Ooh, yeah, I only can imagine with some of the other, the practical effects that they have in this movie that they would have made it look super crazy.
Yeah.
But after that happens, we kind of get Lori, kind of like focus on it. So Lori doesn't know at this point that her daughter has passed away. So going into and actually, since we're on the ending, this is something that a lot of people may not know. It's actually something I found out. People that were at the private screenings or like the test screenings, right? They said that this ending and kind of the film wasn't near about the same film. And they said what they seen in the test screenings were way better. They said it was a little bit more well paced out, but this is the part. The ending was different. And with the ending in this specific one, it will be included in like the Blu-ray when it comes out and stuff that we get to see. They said it was way more intense. They said that this part explains why Michael can withstand all of, the things that he has been through at this point.
Why do you think they left it out? Do you think they want to keep that lore? Because I think this is something that I had mentioned too before. I feel like sometimes when you try to explain the lore of your, I guess, your character, your world that you built, it kind of pulls away that mystique and it sets rules now and boundaries of what you can and cannot do. So maybe that's why they changed the ending, because they want to kind of keep that mystique of Myers, because he really does teeter,
He does. But you know what was crazy, and this is another pain point. In the original Halloween, they kind of played him up to just be a human. And this one, he was a little bit more like supernatural.
Yeah.
And we may get that explanation in the third one. I know I'm very interested in seeing that original ending and kind of what they had planned. Because, from at least everyone that had seen it, said it's really good, and they said it was like mic drop moments. Like it was a whole different experience, and it was super good. So I cannot wait to see it. And hopefully we get that in the third one, if it's well done. So that would be something I would like to see. But yeah, oh, another thing too, the next one doesn't take place in the same night. It actually takes place, I believe, a couple years later after the events in Halloween Kills.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, for me, I feel like this ending, I didn't care for it. So I wouldn't want it to continue right after. I need a little bit more time to pass. I need for everybody to be a little more older, wiser, and kind of know what's coming. And I really want them to be anticipating what they should do, when they run into Michael Myers for this final time. I don't know. The ending to me just wasn't. It didn't hit. I think that kind of, and I get Michael Myers, and this is what another thing too that kind of makes me think that he teeters, because I feel like if there were a bunch of police in the house, you mean to tell me nobody, like he went around, he had to go really around the block to get back in that house, to go through that back door. It's like the Mike Myers teleport, man. So it's like, is he supernatural? Now, if that's the case, why did he have to walk to the house? Why couldn't he just teleport to the house? Like I said, it's little things like that, nitpicky things of why I didn't really care for this movie. But it's what it is, and I can't wait for the next one. I'm gonna watch it.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. And we may need to make a compilation of Petty Mike throughout this whole movie, because we touched on a few moments, but I feel like there's so many other petty moments that he had. I can't wait to see the next, installment as well. So kind of just wrapping up, final thoughts about the movie for myself. I'm gonna say I love the kills. And that's kind of about all. And I love seeing some of the callbacks. I love the beginning with the Sam Loomis theme. For me, it felt really rushed. It didn't really explain some of the things that I would have liked to explain or build upon the story. So I'm definitely hoping in the third one that we get a grand finale, it just knocks it out the park. And, like I said, I can't complain, because I'm somebody that loves remakes when they're done right. And I definitely think this, trilogy, even though the second one probably isn't my favorite yet out the whole. But, I do feel like they're doing a great job in comparison to remakes that we do see.
For sure.
I love some of the, the campiness and the cheesiness of it. But, overall, it was decent. Not what I was expecting. Loved the kills. Really bad pacing. What about you?
Yeah, for me, I have to agree. Like I said, although I didn't care for this movie, because I'm more of a story person. I'm more of a film person. And like I said, it just didn't do it for me. Now the kills were definitely the silver lining in this movie. I feel like there's more story that they could have told. There's more lore that they could have exposed. There's just more that they could have done overall. But I did like the movie. What I do enjoy about the franchise is, what I notice is, even though it does evolve with time, there's a certain essence of the 80s, whatever campiness kind of that they do make sure they keep to a certain degree, because I feel like they want to make sure they do stay true to the franchise and not just evolve it with the times. Although it is, just took place in 2018, I feel like they still do a really good job of keeping of keeping that the true Halloween spirit. Yeah, that's what I feel like they do a really good job of doing that. But overall, the movie is definitely something that I would not go to pay to see in theaters. However, it's definitely worth the $7.99 or whatever Peacock is charging you to watch it, especially if you're going with friends or family. If y'all don't want to all, lug yourself to the theater, especially in the middle of a pandemic, I get it. I would not want to risk going to a
Yeah.
theater right now for this particular movie. I'm going to see Shang-Chi and other things like that in theaters, but I personally wouldn't risk it going to a theater to see this movie. Very, very great kills. I enjoyed that part, but other than that, I gotta be, real. We gotta be honest here on the Antisocial Horror Club. For me, it just wasn't. It didn't hit like I thought it was going to hit.
I respect that, and I do agree
One more
with you as
thing.
well.
And I also think it didn't hit because a lot of the kills and a lot of the deaths, even though we know everybody was going to die, were in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of another thing that was a detriment to this movie is like I knew the woman in the nursing uniform was going to die. I knew the husband was going to die because they were in the merry-go-round on the thing. It's like it just kind of it showed too much. We know everybody's going to die. We get it, but you could have still saved some things because everybody that died, I knew they were going to die. Like I didn't think anybody was going to get away because I saw them die in the trailer. So yeah, that's what I thought about it.
Can I be honest? Can we two things? Either can we normalize bad trailers and great movies, or can we have trailers that have scenes that are not included like in the movie? Maybe it only has to be like a minute and 30 seconds. I know there's a lot of work and production that, goes into those things. Show me a minute and 30-second clip of Michael Myers. Let's just say we got that firefighter scene. That was the trailer. I would have had no issues like if it wasn't in the film. But we know like, oh, I'm going to go see Halloween Kills because obviously Mike is on, his stuff. So I would love to see that, like, just with trailers, in the future and stuff. Like I said, give me the bad trailer. I want to go see the movie. I don't want to be like, oh, I know this is going to happen because the way my mind works, I'll see certain scenes in the trailer and I'm like, this is probably the ending, or maybe this is like whatever and stuff. So
it happened to that movie with the people in the apartment where like there were zombies or something like that, and at the end, like somebody got drug away on the camera, and I said that's probably the end.
Quarantine. Yeah,
Quarantine.
no, was it quarantine?
It was Columbus Short was in it.
I know what you're talking about. Dang.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at
there were like zombies or monsters in the building.
Yeah.
And then the lady had the camera, and at the very end, it was like right where she got drug away. And then when I saw that, I was like, yo, I guarantee you that's the end of the movie. And then boom, it was the end of the movie. And I just feel like trailers do give away a lot. And I do think we need to normalize not putting the entire movie in the trailer. And which is another reason why, we do trailer reactions on the Silverside Network here and there, but a lot of times we don't because our main, content is movie and television reviews, and we don't want to ruin it for ourselves. So yeah, but overall, I did definitely, I enjoyed watching the kills in the movie. Let us know what you thought about this Halloween Kills down below in the comment section. Drop us a like. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, and most importantly, we need you to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that way you'll be up to date with everything going on here at the Silverside Network, whether it be the Antisocial Horror Club, For the Blurcher, Silverside Network, Serial Benger, WCW, or Open World Vlog. We have a lot of content coming your way. Thank you so much for tuning in. With that being said, everybody have a great day. Later day.